Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is Reb and we are back with a sketchbook tour. This is my March-April 2026 sketchbook. Since I switched to a kind of all-in-one journal slash sketchbooks system, I guess, I've been basically just filling a small sketchbook every 2 months. Mostly filling. There are some blank pages in the back, but just to kind of keep everything in line, I just don't even worry about the blank pages. So let's take a look inside. I try to start my sketchbooks out with a self-portrait. Obviously these are just like little silly drawings of me. These are made with Sennelier brush ink pens or something like that. Ink brushes or something. I think that's what they're called. But anyways, they're pretty fun to use, but as you can tell on this paper, they do feather quite a bit, so, and bleed a little bit. This was a drawing is free session that I made the next day. These are just some like tree studies. These actually do not all occur on the same day because this is the tree without leaves and then this is the tree with leaves. Obviously it takes a while for leaves to grow in, so a couple hand and foot studies. These are kind of terrible drawings, but I'm just so bad at drawing hands and feet, so always at least try to get a little bit of practice in. This is a General's or Mitsubishi dual colored pencils, like red on one side and blue on another, and they're really fun to draw with. A couple little drawings from an outing. We went down a trail and kind of just drawing and walking at the same time sometimes. And then stopping every once in a while to draw like specific things. This was some of the stuff that we found on the trail, including a little fern leaf, which I made a little rubbing of here. So that was fun. This was with a rainbow lead. And then these are gouache. I want to say, yeah, this was a monkey mintaka session where we were just drawing animals. I don't remember what the like actual theme was, but I do very, very much love this very silly shark. And whatever this thing is. Aardvark, maybe? This is a page that I did not finish. I made a real quick sketch in gouache up in this exhibition. But, you know, I wasn't supposed to be using wet media, so I just, like, made the sketch real quick. And then I was going to go over it with some neon, but I needed the gouache to dry, so I forgot to go back to it. And then this was a session, or not a session, an event that I was at, and I was just kind of drawing some of the people there. And this very strange, awkward pose is actually fairly accurate to the person. The way they were standing, they had this really like weird posture. I don't know why, but I just thought it was interesting and I was trying to capture it. Next up is just some silly chicken drawings. These are done in pencil. There was this really funny moment when I went to go get the chicken eggs and one of the chickens was just like in the doorway of the coop just watching me, and it was just really funny. It looked very ominous. This is my chickens, just drawings of them as they're like pecking in the garden, and this is done with a Sailor Fude pen and this ink that I have that's called Mango Habanero. I like it a lot. It's kind of reddish orange, but when you wet it, it turns yellow. So just a couple little sketches. This is a garden by my job. And then this is a tower, a church tower. I didn't finish the rest of this, but I like the drawing anyways. Couple drawings of like artifacts at a museum. I actually, spent some time on these, like sitting and drawing them. And I don't think that these were all done on the same day. I think I went back and filled some of these in on a following visit, I'm pretty sure. Just silly stuff. I was swatching my granulating watercolors, these actually right here. And as I was swatching, I was getting the excess paint off and I didn't want to waste it, so I put it on a sketchbook page and then later on filled in like little drawings on top of it. So and this is another day that I went to the museum. This was out in the sculpture garden. I really like how this one came out, and I definitely need to play with this some more. But this was the granulating watercolors and then gouache on top of it. And I did all the like the green of the trees and then filled in the negative spaces between the branches and then layered kind of on top of it to show the like light coming through the trees. And I really like how that came out. This was more like a little value study, and this one was with color. And this is the little bouquet of flowers that my boyfriend and son gave me. Just some cafe people sketches. Some of these are done in the same place, some of these are a different coffee shop. Sometimes I just have a little bit of time to draw. I'll leave the page kind of blank and then fill it in as the sketchbook progresses, which I think is a good way to fill up your sketchbook. This was at our local park. I really like how this one came out. I'm pretty sure this is the granulating watercolors as well. And it's layered on top of a Sailor Fude ink that I have that is brown, that bleeds kind of yellow. So that, I think that that's a great ink to draw like nature with. Same pen here, Sailor Fude pen with that brown ink, but no watercolor. This is just a little silly drawing that I did that I kind of want to turn into like a sticker, maybe. So we'll see. And then kind of all in the same line. I didn't color these in because I didn't want to like spend a bunch of time drawing this if I was going to draw them like digitally. But I ended up drawing at least one of these, maybe two of them, in my next sketchbook and coloring them. More little silly drawings. Sorry, they're kind of light. They're just kind of like ideas, so didn't spend very much time rendering or shading. This is a very random drawing, but basically it's my son loves to play with limb lobbers. He loves garden tools, power tools, all kinds of stuff. And he was giving our roses a trim, and then he brought me one, so I thought it was cute. So I just kind of put it all together. So it's the limb lobbers, the rose, and then the juniper trees that he was also trimming. This is a garden over by my job, and it's like a actual like botanical garden, so it has like really nice landscaping. This picture does not do it justice, but it's a really pretty place. This was me trying to mix a kind of like a sap green using ultramarine, primary blue, yellow ochre, and I think primary yellow. And and just kind of coming up with different combinations of those to see which green I liked. I think I ended up going with maybe this one here, but leaning more towards this, a little bit more blue. Little sketch of a fountain that I was sitting by. Not very successful, but still a good way to practice. Water is so hard to draw. This was a water bottle that was sitting on a table that was on while we were eating lunch. Somebody had this neon pink water bottle, and I don't know, it was just catching the light in an interesting way, but I didn't really capture it the way I would have liked. But there is a record there. A couple little garden sketches, just random different things in the garden. This, I did not see this bird. I did see this bird in real life. It was very dead. But I looked it up, and this was a reference photo from the internet, and then I was just kind of like drawing it in sort of silly ways. This particular bird has like huge feet, like huge feet. I guess it's to like distribute its weight over like lily pads and stuff, because it's like a marsh bird. And I just thought it was like the proportions were really funny. Also, it's a beautiful bird. I made like a watercolor sketch of it, but I didn't really like the watercolor sketch, so I went over it in Neocolor and like it much better now. Just some like little random flowers that are growing in my area right now. They're just like wild flowers, technically weeds, I guess, but I really like them. They're very like pretty and dainty. And I drew these in Pitt artist pens that my friend Olinda gave me. I kind of swatched them here and then drew these flowers. More flower drawings. These are with Cretacolor. I just picked up like a couple different ones. I really like them. They're like chunky color pencils. Next page. I don't know what to tell you about this page. I think I had some leftover green that I wanted to get rid of, so I just colored in the negative space. And this, I was just drawing some fish while we were at the pet store. My son loves to go and look at the fish, and we'll spend a lot of time there. But it's not like I can just like sit there and draw, because I also have to constantly watch him, that he's not trying to stick his hands in fish tanks and things like that. So this one, which is super bright, and I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's like neon, was a very funny situation where my boyfriend was at his computer at like midnight, heard the chickens, which the chickens are definitely not supposed to be making noise at midnight, and went out to check on them, and there was a possum in the chicken coop. And it hadn't hurt any of the chickens, though it did have a just mouthful of fluff. And it was just holding one of the eggs, just like staring at him. So he's telling me this story, and this is kind of like how I imagine the situation. More chicken drawings. Obviously, I love to draw my chickens. This was with this like funny pencil thing that I found. I don't know who this belongs to or where it came from, but I think it's old. But anyways, I honestly did not love it. The leads were very, very waxy. So probably just give this one to my son. I think he'd probably enjoy it more than I did. These are the Stabilo Woodies. I bought these for my son. Olinda gave me like a little Stabilo Woody holder with like a little sharpener thing, and but I didn't actually have any Stabilo Woodies, but I'd been wanting to try them, so I ended up getting them for my son. He's always trying to use like my pencils and stuff, and not that I really care, but some of them will break under the pressure that he applies, so I thought that the Stabilo Woodies would be a great option for him, and sure enough, he really likes them. But yeah, I did take them for a little test drive, and they are pretty fun. These are wildflowers that we saw on our trip. We went up to the kind of San Antonio, Del Rio kind of area, and there were just a ton of different wildflowers. And then this was a bird that we saw at Garner State Park that was like literally sitting on the table with us while we were eating. My son was eating a peanut butter and jelly, and it was just waiting for him to like drop crumbs. So pretty, so red. Random like ideas. This is me like sketching out this pochade box that I'm trying to put together. And then a bunch of little thumbnail sketches. They're really light, so you probably won't be able to see them very well, but just some ideas for something. And then just some like plein air painting, the same sky 30 minutes apart. It's crazy how quickly it changes, like the color completely different. And I think that's it. There's a couple more pages, but I didn't want to draw on them because they were kind of falling out. And then the last page is just almost always with my sketchbooks, test out materials to see which ones like bleed through, which ones work. Because all of this paper is, I wasn't sure how it was gonna like react to some of this stuff. So I will say that this banana paper, I think it is, banana fiber paper, was very durable for how thin it feels. So yeah, that's my sketchbook for March and April 2026. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this little sketchbook tour, and I will see you guys on the next one.